Alright, so what's up guys, and today I want to do sort of a quick comparison video between two of my all-time favorite action RPG games, that being Diablo 3 and Torchlight 2. And while these games are extremely similar because they're essentially both action RPGs and they took their inspiration from the early Diablo games, as all action RPGs did, they're different enough to warrant sort of a comparison video. And the first up is graphics. Right off the bat you can see that Torchlight 2 is much more cartoonish, even childish in essence, while Diablo 3 not being as grim and dark as its predecessors or even alternate action RPG games on the market like Grim Dawn. It's still much darker than Torchlight 2, which takes a more lighthearted tone when it comes to the style and overall feeling of the graphics. That being said, when it comes to quality, both of these games are essentially the same. They came out in a very similar time. I think the difference was like 1 or 2 years. So when it comes to actual quality of the graphics, they're essentially the same. And if we were not to take into account the differences in style, these two games would essentially look the same. Now when it comes to gameplay and selecting your class, in Torchlight you have only 4 options, that being the Berserker, the Outlander, the Ember Mage and the Engineer. Comparing that with Diablo 3's 6 classes and an additional one being released very soon, which is the Necromancer, you can clearly see that you have far more options for customization and far more options for variety when it comes to playing Diablo 3. But even in Torchlight 2, each of the classes has essentially sort of 3 in-depth classes, because you can pick from 3 sort of skill lists for each class. That means you can run a Berserker that's more health built, or you can run a Berserker that's more built on doing sort of bursty damage. Same thing like the Ember Mage, you can do damage over time, or like a Fire Mage or Frost Mage which freezes enemies. So there's a whole bunch of variety even in Torchlight 2, but it clearly loses in this section because in Diablo 3 you just have too many classes and too many sort of variations for each class to even be able to compare the two. Diablo 3 just wins hands down when it comes to class selection. Now when it comes to the end game, Torchlight 2 was never really built to be sort of a long withstanding end game type of action RPG like Path of Exile or Diablo 3. The end game is very limited. Once you finish the storyline, you have the option to play a few custom random maps, sort of like rifts, without any real benefit. It's just sort of to pass time. And Torchlight 2 in general is just a game that you can pick up, play for a while, play the story mode once again, and just put it back down. While in Diablo 3 you have the option to constantly play it, constantly progress, and have this sense of never-ending progression. As the game gets harder and harder, you have more Paragon levels, you have more Torment difficulties being added. So this means that the developers are constantly developing the end game, making Diablo 3 a continuous experience, while Torchlight 2 is sort of a one and done type of experience. You can play the New Game Plus. Once you finish the storyline, you can play all the various maps, but in the end it's just the same stuff over and over again. Doesn't really feel like you're getting any new content. It doesn't feel like you're getting anything more out of the game that you have actually experienced before. So this goes again to Diablo 3. When it comes to the actual story mode, it depends if you prefer replayability or the length of the campaign, or if you prefer the story for its story. The single player campaign in Diablo 3 has a lot of story, but it's very short. The single player campaign in Torchlight 2 has not that much story, but it's pretty damn long. You can spend a lot of hours just looking throughout all the random little caves and really just sweeping through the areas and finding as much stuff as you can possibly be able to find in there. So it really depends on your preference, but I personally preferred the Torchlight 2 campaign. However, the one thing that makes Diablo 3 pale in comparison to Torchlight 2 are all the mods. While Diablo 3 has no mods available, Torchlight 2 has a plethora of them. You have essentially a potential unlimited amount of content at the tips of your fingers. A huge variety of custom classes created by the community, a giant amount of various custom maps, various custom campaigns, music, UI, you name it, it's there in the workshop on Steam for Torchlight 2. So really it depends if you're the type of guy that likes to play One game, have fun, you know, one and done and have a lot of fun, which is the Torchlight 2 experience, or you're the type of guy that really likes to see the progress of his character, really likes to put a lot of hours into a single character and watch him become an incredible badass, making it one of the best experiences ever to play Diablo 3. So these games are incredibly similar in some fashions, but in some ways they're extremely different, and it really depends what you as a player prefer. Anyway, thank you guys for watching and see you next time.